Ladies, whether you realize it or not, men are always testing you. They may not come right out and say it, but they are constantly observing, evaluating, and trying to figure out if you are truly the kind of woman they want to invest in. Now, this isn't about playing games or manipulation. It's about a man making sure he's choosing wisely. Because just like women want to be sure they're with the right man, men want to be sure they're with the right woman. So, how exactly do men test women? Let's break it down. One of the biggest ways men test women is by setting boundaries and seeing if you respect them. A man may mention his personal space, his work schedule, or his need for time with his friends, and he watches how you react. Do you get upset? Do you try to guilt him into spending more time with you? Or do you show that you're secure enough to respect his independence? A man doesn't want to feel controlled. And if he senses that you don't respect his boundaries, he will pull away. Men often test women in subtle ways to see if they are a good match for a long-term relationship. One of the key ways they do this is by observing how a woman respects their boundaries. Boundaries are essential in any healthy relationship, and men want to see if a woman understands the importance of personal space, time, and individuality. A man might test this by setting small limits, such as needing alone time after work, prioritizing certain commitments, or declining plans. He watches closely to see if the woman pressures him, guilt trips him, or respects his need for space. A man will also assess how a woman reacts when he doesn't respond immediately to messages or when he wants to spend time with his friends. If a woman constantly demands his attention, gets upset when he needs personal time, or tries to control his schedule, it raises concerns about how she will handle the natural ebb and flow of a relationship. A healthy dynamic involves both partners having their own lives and respecting each other's. If he sees that she can respect his time without making it an issue, it signals emotional maturity. Another way men test boundaries is by introducing situations where they politely say no, whether it's declining a suggestion, expressing a preference, or setting a firm stance on something important. He observes how she reacts. If she respects his decision without pushing back or making him feel guilty, he sees that she values mutual respect. However, if she constantly tries to override his choices or manipulate him into doing what she wants, it signals potential issues down the road. Men also pay attention to whether a woman pressures them into deeper commitment before they are ready. While commitment is important in a relationship, a healthy one develops naturally without force. If a man feels rushed into defining the relationship, making future plans, or meeting certain expectations too soon, he may pull back. He is not only gauging whether the woman respects his timeline, but also testing whether she is genuinely interested in him or more focused on securing a relationship title. Another way men test boundaries is by watching how a woman reacts when things don't go her way. Life isn't always predictable, and disagreements or unexpected changes are bound to happen. A man will observe if she remains calm, expresses her feelings respectfully, and listens to his perspective. If she becomes overly dramatic, gives a silent treatment, or reacts impulsively, it's a sign that handling challenges together may be difficult. How someone deals with small boundary tests can reveal a lot about how they will handle bigger issues later. Understanding how a man values his personal space, his pace in a relationship, and his ability to make decisions without unnecessary conflict is crucial. A man doesn't test a woman to play games. He does it to understand whether she is emotionally mature, respects him as an individual, and can contribute to a relationship built on mutual trust and understanding. Men often test women by observing how they handle disagreements and conflict. Disagreements are a natural part of any relationship, but the way a person navigates them says a lot about their emotional intelligence and maturity. A man may intentionally bring up a topic where he knows there is a difference in opinion just to see how she reacts. He wants to know if she can engage in a respectful conversation or if she becomes defensive, dismissive, or overly emotional. A man might also test how a woman handles a situation where he disagrees with her on something important to him. He wants to see if she listens, considers his point of view, and communicates with maturity rather than trying to dominate the discussion. If she quickly shuts down his perspective, dismisses his feelings, or refuses to compromise, it can be a red flag for how she may handle more serious conflicts in the future. Another way men test women in this area is by paying attention to whether she argues to understand or argues to win. Some people engage in disagreements with a mindset of finding common ground, while others simply want to be right. A man will notice if she focuses on the issue at hand or if she starts bringing up unrelated things from the past just to prove a point. He watches if she listens as much as she speaks and whether she genuinely considers his feelings in the discussion. If a disagreement turns into a competition rather than a conversation, it signals potential difficulties in building a healthy relationship. Men also observe how a woman reacts to frustration. Does she resort to name calling, yelling, or shutting down completely? Or does she take a step back, process her emotions, and communicate calmly? No relationship will ever be free of challenges. So a man wants to know if the person he's with has the ability to handle those challenges in a mature and constructive way. He may also pay attention to how quickly a woman escalates a situation. Some disagreements can be resolved with a simple conversation, but if small issues consistently turn into major arguments, it can create an unstable dynamic. A man values peace in his relationship, and if he notices that every disagreement leads to unnecessary drama, he may see it as a sign that things will not improve over time. Another key test is whether a woman holds grudges or moves forward. Holding on to resentment and bringing up past arguments repeatedly can create tension in a relationship. A man will notice if she resolves issues and lets them go, or if she keeps track of everything that went wrong just to bring it up later. This kind of behavior can make a relationship feel like a constant battle rather than a partnership built on trust and growth. A man wants to see if the person he is with can handle conflict in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than weakens it. He isn't looking for perfection, but he is looking for someone who can communicate with respect, listen with an open heart, and work through differences in a way that brings them closer rather than pushes them apart. Men often test women by observing how they handle boundaries. A man may set small boundaries early on to see if she respects them, because the way someone responds to boundaries reveals a lot about their character and emotional maturity. He might say no to a request or express that he needs space at a particular time just to see how she reacts. If she becomes upset, ignores his request, or tries to push past his limits, it sends a clear signal that she may not respect personal boundaries in the future. Another way men test for boundary respect is by setting limits on his time or availability. If he says he has plans or needs time for himself, he watches whether she takes it personally or understands that he has other aspects of his life to maintain. A woman who respects his space shows that she has confidence, security in herself, and trust in the relationship. On the other hand, if she constantly tries to override his boundaries or makes him feel guilty for them, it creates an unhealthy dynamic where he may start to pull away. Men also notice how a woman handles her own boundaries. If she lets people walk all over her or struggles to say no, it signals that she may have a difficult time maintaining healthy standards in a relationship. A woman who stands firm in her values and communicates her needs clearly earns a man's respect. He wants to know if she will speak up when something isn't working for her, rather than letting resentment build up over time. Another test comes in the form of emotional boundaries. A man may observe whether a woman expects him to be responsible for her emotions, or if she takes accountability for her own feelings. If she constantly needs reassurance, becomes upset over minor things, or expects him to be the source of her happiness, it can feel overwhelming. A man values a partner who can regulate her emotions in a healthy way rather than someone who relies on him for emotional stability. Social boundaries are another area where men pay attention. He may notice how she interacts with his friends and family and whether she respects his relationships with them. If she tries to isolate him or make him choose between her and the people in his life, it raises a red flag. A healthy relationship involves mutual respect for each other's personal connections and social lives. Testing for boundaries also applies to physical and financial aspects. If he sets a limit on how quickly the relationship progresses physically and she disregards it, it signals a lack of respect for his comfort. Similarly, if she assumes entitlement to his money or lifestyle early on, it can make him question whether she values him as a person or what he provides. Men are not looking for someone who is overly agreeable or always says yes to their needs. They value a woman who respects boundaries, both his and her own, because that creates the foundation for a strong and balanced relationship where both partners feel secure and valued. Men often test women by observing how they react to challenges and moments of discomfort. Life is unpredictable and a relationship will face ups and downs. So a man wants to see if the woman he's interested in can handle adversity with grace or if she crumbles under pressure. He may introduce small inconveniences or put her in slightly uncomfortable situations to see how she responds. This isn't about being manipulative or playing games, but rather understanding how she navigates challenges and whether she has emotional resilience. For example, a man might make last minute changes to plans or put her in social situations where she isn't entirely comfortable. He watches whether she remains flexible and goes with the flow or whether she gets irritated and upset. If a woman is easily thrown off and lets minor disruptions ruin her mood, it tells him that she may struggle with bigger life challenges in the future. On the other hand, if she adapts, remains positive, and doesn't let small issues turn into big problems, it reassures him that she has the emotional maturity to handle real life difficulties. Men also test how women deal with constructive criticism or differing opinions. In a relationship, disagreements will happen, and he wants to see if she can handle them maturely or if she becomes defensive, dismissive, or argumentative. He may intentionally share an opposing viewpoint on a topic to see if she can have a respectful discussion or if she immediately reacts negatively. If a woman listens, considers his perspective, and engages in a balanced conversation, it tells him that she can communicate effectively and won't create unnecessary conflict. But if she shuts him down, becomes condescending, or refuses to acknowledge any viewpoint but her own, it can be a major red flag. Another way men test resilience is by seeing how a woman handles stress. If she constantly complains about minor inconveniences, gets overwhelmed by small problems, or lets negativity control her mindset, it can be draining to be around. A man wants to know that his partner can stay calm under pressure and not allow outside stressors to dictate her emotions. Life will always bring challenges, whether it's financial difficulties, job stress, or family issues, and he wants to be with someone who can handle those moments with strength and composure. Men also take note of how a woman responds to difficult people. If she encounters someone rude, dismissive, or unkind, does she stoop to their level and react with the same negativity, or does she rise above it and handle the situation with confidence and poise? A woman who can maintain her dignity and not let others control her emotional state earns a man's respect. Ultimately, men want a partner who can handle life's ups and downs without letting them define her happiness or dictate her actions. Emotional resilience, adaptability, and the ability to navigate challenges with a level head are traits that men value in a long-term partner, and they will often test for them in subtle ways. Men test women by observing how they handle boundaries. A man wants to know if the woman he's interested in has a strong sense of self, if she respects herself enough to say no when necessary, and if she is firm about what she will and won't tolerate. He may push small boundaries to see if she will stand up for herself or if she allows things that make her uncomfortable just to keep the peace. For example, he might playfully tease her about something she's insecure about or make a comment that slightly crosses the line. If she laughs it off but later expresses that she didn't appreciate it, he respects that she has a voice and isn't afraid to set limits. However, if she lets it slide, even when it visibly bothers her, It signals to him that she may not have the confidence to assert herself in more serious situations. Another way men test boundaries is by seeing how quickly a woman gives into their desires. If he asks her to cancel plans for him at the last minute or pressures her into doing something she's not ready for, he's paying close attention to her response. A woman who values herself will hold firm to her boundaries, even if it means disappointing him. She won't allow fear of losing him to make her compromise on what she knows is right for her. But if she consistently puts aside her own needs just to make him happy, he may see it as a sign that she lacks the ability to prioritize her own well-being. Men also test to see if a woman will maintain her boundaries over time. Some people set boundaries initially, but let them slide as they grow more emotionally attached. A man might try to see if she remains consistent or if she allows disrespect to creep in. He may cancel plans last minute, fail to communicate properly, or show up late just to see how she reacts. If she calmly addresses the issue and makes it clear that she expects better, it shows she values herself. If she accepts it repeatedly without speaking up, it tells him that she might be willing to tolerate poor treatment in the long run. Another subtle way men test boundaries is by seeing how a woman responds to emotional manipulation. He might try to guilt trip her or test her patience to see if she easily bends under pressure. A woman with strong boundaries will recognize these tactics and stand her ground. She won't allow herself to be manipulated into doing things she's uncomfortable with. A man may not always be conscious of these tests, but they reveal a lot about how a woman views herself. A woman with clear, firm boundaries earns a man's respect and admiration because it shows she values herself and expects to be treated accordingly. Men test women by observing how they handle independence. A man wants to know if a woman is confident in who she is, if she can stand on her own, and if she has a fulfilling life outside of him. He's not looking for someone who needs him to feel complete. He wants someone who chooses him but doesn't depend on him for her happiness or self-worth. One way he does this is by seeing how she spends her time. Does she have hobbies, goals, and passions that she actively pursues? Or is she waiting for a man to come into her life and give it meaning? A man will respect a woman who has a sense of purpose beyond the relationship. If she suddenly drops everything just to be available for him, it can signal that she lacks her own direction, which can make the relationship feel one-sided. He may also test her independence by seeing how she reacts when he's busy or unavailable. If he has to cancel plans or take time for himself, he watches to see if she handles it with understanding or if she becomes overly dependent on his attention. A woman who is secure in herself will be able to respect his space and continue enjoying her own life rather than feeling anxious or clingy when he's not constantly engaging with her. Men also pay attention to financial independence. While every relationship is different and some men enjoy providing, they still want to know that a woman is capable of taking care of herself. If she constantly expects him to cover all expenses, make all decisions, and carry the weight of responsibility, it can make him question whether she's truly interested in him or just what he can provide. A woman who manages her finances, makes smart choices, and shows that she can contribute in her own way earns a man's respect. A man tests a woman's independence is by seeing how she handles challenges. Does she break down when things get tough and expect him to fix everything? Or does she show resilience and problem-solving skills? Men admire women who can handle difficulties without always relying on them to step in. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about showing that she is strong enough to face life's challenges without falling apart. A man may also test a woman's ability to make decisions for herself. If he notices that she constantly seeks his validation before making even the smallest choices, he might see it as a sign that she lacks confidence in her own judgment. A woman who knows what she wants, expresses her opinions, and isn't afraid to take the lead when necessary shows that she is emotionally mature and capable of holding her own in the relationship. Men test women by observing how they handle boundaries. A man wants to know if a woman respects herself enough to establish and maintain clear boundaries, or if she allows people to cross lines without standing up for herself. How a woman enforces her boundaries tells him a lot about her self worth, emotional strength, and what kind of relationship she will tolerate. One way he does this is by subtly pushing limits to see how she reacts. It might start with something small, like canceling plans at the last minute or teasing her in a way that feels slightly uncomfortable. He's not necessarily doing this with bad intentions, but he's watching to see if she will call it out or let it slide. If she allows repeated behavior that makes her uncomfortable without addressing it, he may see it as a sign that she doesn't value herself enough to demand respect. Men test boundaries is by seeing how a woman reacts to physical advances. A man who is genuinely interested in a serious relationship will respect when a woman says no, but he may also be testing to see if she stands firm in her decision or if she can be persuaded. If she sets a boundary but then changes it under pressure, it can signal that she struggles to uphold her own limits. This can lead to a dynamic where he continues to test how much she's willing to tolerate. Men also test boundaries by observing how a woman responds to disrespect, whether from him or others. If someone talks down to her, interrupts her, or dismisses her opinions, does she speak up for herself or does she brush it off to avoid conflict? A woman who calmly but firmly asserts herself earns a man's respect because it shows that she values herself enough to expect fair treatment. Another test involves how she handles personal space and time. If a man is busy or needs time alone, does she respect that or does she take it personally and demand more attention? A woman who can set and respect healthy boundaries around time, energy, and emotional space demonstrates emotional security and maturity. A man might also test a woman's ability to say no without guilt. If she constantly says yes to things just to please him, even when she doesn't want to, he may start to see her as someone who lacks self assurance. A confident woman is not afraid to decline something that doesn't align with her values, comfort, or well being. And men respect a woman who stands by her own needs. Ladies, whether a man realizes it or not, he is always testing to see if you are truly the right fit for him. It's not about playing a role or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being the best version of yourself, showing up with confidence, and knowing that the right man will recognize and appreciate that.